Good morning. We're a day before Pesach. Let's talk a little bit about Pesach. Pesach is a time that a minna comes down in this world. In other words, just like we understand, Shabbos is something that Kedusha comes on the world. Why? Because Hashem made Shabbos, and Hashem said, "Vayikadash oisoi." Hashem made that Shabbos should have Kedusha. And Yom Tov is something that the Jews have to make. Hashem gave it over in the hands of the sages. They should make Yom Tov. But Pesach is a little bit like Shabbos. And not only it's a little bit like Shabbos, it's even called in the Torah Mimachros HaShabbos, the next day of Shabbos. Pesach is called Shabbos. And the reason why it's called Shabbos is because you don't have to do nothing. It's not something that you have to do. Sikkos you have to do, Rosh Hashanah you have to do, Yom Kippur you have to do. Pesach is something that the thing of a minna comes down on this world in a very, very strong way. Now, the minna comes down. If you want it or if you don't want it, if you do or if you don't do, it comes. The only difference is how much do you have to accept the minna? Meaning to say, if you have a garbage bag, you'll get a garbage bag, a 33-gallon bag of minna. If you have a little baggie, you're going to have a baggie. If you just have a little cup, that's what you're going to get. But it comes down, it pours down a minna. This is not only the minna understood for Pesach, this is a minna for a whole year. It depends in the person how much a minna he is going to try to absorb in these couple of days. Now, this whole Pesach is made for one thing, to thank Hashem. This is what the Seder is. This is what, when I think it's all Kehillas or most Kehillas, they say Hallel and Shiel after davening, then they come home and we say the Aguda. If you look in very, very deeply in the Aguda, all we're talking about is one thing: thanking and thanking and thanking Hashem. And all the time that we talk from Mitzrayim, the reason for it is because the Heilige Ba'ir Mayim Chayim, he says, and he asks a question. When it comes to Piram, we call the Yom Tov Piram. So he says, why? Why is it called Piram? Al Shem Apir, because that letter that came out, that was in that letter said that they're going to kill all of Jews, men, women, children. Now he asks, why shouldn't we call this Yom Tov Esther, Mordcha, a nice name? Why did we pick such a kind of a name? That's the worst. The worst from the whole story was this Pir. So he says the whole thing is that when you go out of exile, when we'll go out of exile, when somebody has a yeshia, he's supposed to go back and look, when was the worst time? When was it just impossible, hard? And then you have to think of that time, and this is what you thank Hashem, that thank you Hashem, you took us out of that very, very difficult time. That's why we call Piram Al Shem Apir, because of that leather. The same thing happens with Pesach. Piram is actually a preview for Pesach. We're talking about the Mitzrayim, and we're talking about what they did for us. Why? Because we should be able to come towards the end of the Aguda and say, Kamu malas toivus lamukum alayni. How much did Hashem do for us? And keep on saying, and thanking, and saying Hallel, and eating, and saying Hallel further. It's a very painful thing, but I deal with an awful lot of people, so many children, young boys or young married people, 25, 27, tell me like this was the worst night in there that they could remember. How much as a father Mechiav is supposed to make this night a beautiful night, and it's Nebuch because it was with a gewaltige pressure. For instance, that is, I'm talking about the boys that speak to me. You wouldn't be able to laugh. You shouldn't laugh in a night like this. You shouldn't make a joke in a night like this. If you wanted to say a word and it was in English, the father went, don't talk like this by the cider. And I really think it's not the right thing to do. Hashem knows English. Hashem created English. And people have a big mistake what English means. English is not, it doesn't mean the way, the accent of English. A Yid talks like a Yid. It doesn't hurt nobody. A Yid watches on somebody else's pride, on somebody else's kavod. A Yid talks from Hashem day and night. He never ever says this word, I could have gone, I should have done this. A pity it happened this way. These are English words. But when you talk with a minna in betuchen, and when you watch on somebody else's kavod, then the Seder is the nicest night to remember. And I'm sure that every father would want to have that his children should remember the night of the Seder for the nicest night of the year. So Seder is made to do one thing, as much as possible thank Hashem, and really only the people that understand already, that listened and understood and understands a lot, so thank Hashem for everything, even for the things that weren't comfortable, even for the things that were painful. So thank Hashem, because we believe that everything that happens is for our good, and Hashem does only good. That's why we could thank Him even for things. First we should start thanking for the good things, and then we should start thanking for everything. We say by davening in Shemoneh Esrei, V'chol Achayim, that means the whole purpose of living is only for one reason. Yoidichu Seilu, we should thank Hashem. A father, the night of Pesach, wants to give over for his child. What does it mean, thanking Hashem? What does it mean, believing in Hashem? What does it mean that when we thank Hashem and when we serve Hashem, we are the happiest people in the world? We're not tense, and we're not chas v'shulam in a bad mood, just the opposite. We're in the nicest mood that it is possible. Let me say one more little thing. It bothers me that I have to say it, but I have to. A person should know Hashem is not so makbet. People, there's a lot of times that on little things that's not even a minute, it doesn't even state in Shulchan Aruch, and they're so strong about it that chas v'shulam, even they could become angry, and they could becoming cast for something like this. You have to understand, Hashem Hashem doesn't mind so much. Hashem is one thing, because we see it in all of the Torah. Hashem is very, very sensitive for somebody else's feelings. You shouldn't shame nobody. You shouldn't belittle nobody. You shouldn't put down nobody. So a person, especially the day before Pesach, it's a day that every smart man makes sure to eat, and not only breakfast, in the middle of the day too, to eat and eat good. You should be full. You shouldn't be hungry at all, because chas v'shulam, God forbid, when a person is hungry, a little bit of chaos, of nervousness could come into him. We have to be very, very careful. Chaos is definitely chumetz. You got to be very careful on it. And if somebody is smart, he makes sure that all of his children and his wife should eat. Because when you eat and maybe try to sleep, you're not nervous, and try to help your wife, your children, help. This is the nicest way. You go to the Seder and you feel that Hashem, I did everything in my house, that it should be calm and it should be nice and everybody should be in a good mood. And then you are alone in a good mood, and then you have a Seder that you really is to remember. Your children is always going to remember what a beautiful Seder you made, and what a good atmosphere it was, and how nice it was, and how beautiful it was. And definitely this is what Hashem likes. Hashem should help. We should all have a kushera in happy Yontif, a beautiful Yontif, and a happy Yontif. And not only the first day in Erev Yontif, we should be careful whole Yontif, not to become nervous, not to become angry, just the opposite. Be in a good mood, make your wife in a good mood too. You should have a beautiful Yontif of Yiddish families. Have a good day.